evening, everybody, and welcome to a live YouTube exclusive here, guys, because this is a first for us. Now, guys, do not deceive yourselves. We are live tonight, and guys, we're being joined by somebody who, when you think of the vendors that are out there, this is one of the top guys, and he's actually going to be running his first convention on May 20th called the Wrestle Show, which I'm going to pull up right now. All the information is right there. We'll get into that throughout the interview tonight. But guys, we're being joined tonight by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Richie Sorrentino. Richie, how you doing?
Doing all right. How you doing, my friend?
Doing very well. I'm very happy to have you on the show. And we'll get into what led you to want to run this convention later on. But first, I want to get into what got you into pro wrestling.
Okay, so I'll be about 39 this year. So pretty much late 80s, most kids, my generation. My father was a big wrestling fan, huge wrestling fan. My father actually worked out with Paige Morales. They used to go to a YMCA gym. Well, he was champ. He was the ICO world champ at the time. And my father was a little younger. So they're Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And they used to hang out. I'm not saying they were closest friends in the world, but, you know, my father was into wrestling from watching Pedro. So my father always made me watch wrestling. I would get forced to watch wrestling as a little kid. So over time, I started to like him. Like, this is cool. I rooted for all the bad guys except for Hulk Hogan. If Hulk Hogan fought against like Rick Rude, then it was Hulk Hogan, you know. But other than that, late 80s, always rooted for the bad guys. Greg the Hammer, Hunky Tonk, whoever was bad, $1 Million Man, unless they were fighting Hulk Hogan. If they were fighting Hogan, then they had no chance. I had to root for Hulkamania first.
and so then what led you then into wanting to become a vendor then?
Okay, well that's a whole funny story, but we'll tell all the great fans out there, and I appreciate you having me tonight. First of all, appreciate you having me, and yeah, I'll tell you all about that. So basically, for a lot of people don't know, is I actually started out in the music business. I was a DJ MC. I worked at K2 Radio in New York. I'm 100. Planned things called like K2 Beat Stock, 100 Jingle Ball. They still have a Jingle Ball every December. Still do that. But in the beginning, yeah, I was one of the guys who helped plan those events. I was working for a thing called K2 Party Crew, and they did a lot of nightlife events. Then I got to manage nightclubs. But we'll skip all that music stuff, and we'll get into the wrestling. We'll skip all that. This is a wrestling podcast, so we will talk about wrestling. So we'll talk about wrestling, guys. All right. So there was a place. I don't know if you're familiar with the Big Event. You familiar with Big Event? Okay.
That's the last one.
Okay. So Tom Unger runs the Big Event. He used to own an ice cream store on New York Lane in Staten Island called Seduto's Ice Cream. My friend Phil, who used to live across the street from me at the time, he's childhood friends of Tommy's. They were looking for somebody to DJ and MC and hype man their events. So they were having Matt Hardy, Mickey James, so on and so forth, you know, a bunch of different names at the time. So the Big Event wasn't even in existence yet. So started working with that. People then knew me between doing the music stuff. And then they started me working the lines and playing music. I would have a big megaphone like Jimmy Hart would, and just run the lines for them. And there was a fan there. I'll even say his name. There was a fan there, Louis Illis. He owns Ultimate Stars, another vendor. And he came over to me and goes, Rich, you book a lot of music guys. What do you think about going in with me and doing a wrestling guy? So what are you talking about? How do you book a wrestling guy? And he just happened to have a phone number. Sorry about that. Somebody was calling me. We call them back later. Okay, sorry about that. Stupid phone. All right. So where was I? I was with Lewis, right? Yeah, okay. So me and Lewis were talking. And if you guys want to check him out, he's an vendor. Like I said, he'll be doing Wrestle Show. He brings talent to Big Event, icons of wrestling. He goes all over the world these days. He goes. But without that conversation with Lewis, we were talking. He goes, I have these two guys' numbers. We think this would be a good investment. I said, honestly, I don't know. I never did wrestling. We tried it out. We did a few shows together. And that's how I got involved in wrestling in terms of being a vendor. It wasn't something I planned to do, if that makes sense.
Now, obviously, you've dealt with a lot of big name people. You've dealt with a lot of the big names that, from the past and the present. Do you have any funny stories you can tell of some of the people that you've worked with?
Yeah, I got plenty of funny stories. All right, let's take a few. Okay, say a few funny stories. All right, we'll start off with this one. So Mike Knox, okay, remember him? He was in Impact. He was at NWA. I think he's in now.
Yep.
So it was about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I forgot who was driving, but we were going upstate New York. So for me, it would be like a 5-hour drive. I'm sleeping the whole ride. So it was whoever was driving, Mike Knox in the passenger seat, and I'm sitting in the back. And every 20 minutes was Elvis and Johnny Cash nonstop playing, which again, I didn't mind. I was sleeping, whatever.
Yeah.
Richie Sorrentino, get me another beer. Get another beer. So all this guy's doing is drinking beer and taking his rest stops in the middle of the woods. We got lost in the woods. We couldn't find Mike Knox. Oh, I know who it was now, but I'm not going to mention the person's name who was with us. But Mike Knox wandering around the woods. We had to find him, and it was just a whole. You watch Sopranos or no?
Yep, I've seen The Sopranos.
You remember the episode where they were in the woods and they couldn't find the guy?
Yeah.
That was similar to the Mike Knox situation. We couldn't find him. Like, where is this damn guy? So this is how we found Mike Knox, the beer cans. It was like 5 beer cans in a row. Like, there's no way someone else would have these beer cans other than Mike Knox. And that's how we found them. It doesn't sound that funny. Like, you had to be there, I guess, for it to be more funny. But like, just me picturing in my head of how this went down, we just couldn't find the guy. We're like, Mike, where are you? And like, sometimes he would talk back. We don't know if he was playing hide and seek. We don't know what he was doing. But the guy drank a lot. All he did was listen to Johnny Cash. I must have heard Johnny Cash. What's the Johnny Cash song? Ring of Fire at least 40 times in that car ride. Elvis, Suspicious Mind about 20 times in that car ride. But all he had was 9 songs on repeat. And that's all that would play was the same 9 songs. But a lot of the best stories, honestly, are the car rides. Scott Hall, rest in peace. Great guy. Great guy. You'll hear a lot of mixed stories about him. But he was a good guy, genuine good guy. A lot of good road stories with him. He'd make you laugh, man. While you're driving, he'll definitely make you laugh. Scott Hall. Definitely some good stories on that. But I'll keep those to myself. What's another one I can tell you? Give you one more story and we'll talk about whatever else you want to talk about. Yeah. Another story. All right, listen, this is no surprise to anybody. Best guy to smoke with, and I don't even smoke, but the best guy to smoke with, Godfather, hands down. Second best guy to smoke with, Bret the Hitman Hart. Third best guy to smoke with, Sean Waltman. And again, I don't smoke, but with those guys, I have no choice in the matter. But best 3 guys, if you smoke and you're into that, those are the 3 guys you want to blaze up with. So I'll give you a story. There's a story for you.
I've always heard, well, first of all, we'll go back to the Mike Knox thing for a second. Obviously, I wasn't there, but in my head, I remember seeing pictures of Mike Knox, and I know he's not a small person.
Definitely not, man. Have him crash at your house. You had to crash at my house one time, and we could barely fit. Let me rephrase. We had to have him crash and Rob Terry crash. Both guys, big guys. So, and then them in a room together was like, you could barely fit the 2 of them. Both big guys. Rob Terry was big in bodybuilding, and Mike Knox is generally big due to genetics, But yeah, definitely a big guy, that's for sure.
But then on the other side, with who you said about, the smoking stuff, it doesn't shock me for Godfather, especially. I think last I heard he has his own smoke shop, I think, out in Vegas.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. He's doing his thing, man. He makes his money out in Vegas, man. I think he's got that. I think he generally owns a strip club, I believe he told me.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think I remember hearing that at one point. But obviously, like I said before, you've worked with a lot of the big names. Is there one name in particular that you worked with in the wrestling side that you pinch yourself now and going, holy crap, I can't believe I worked with this guy or gal?
Did I personally worked with?
Yeah. Is there one that you worked with?
I'd have to say probably the biggest name that I've had, and I've booked this guy about 5-6 times, probably was Bret. The first time I ever had Bret, I was like, damn, I never thought this would happen. This guy's working for me. Right, Bret Hart. Hands down has to be Bret. Hands down. I don't even think there's a close second. Maybe Nash would be second, but it's not even close to Bret.
But what's funny is you bring up Bret, and being that you mentioned earlier, that you grew up watching wrestling in the 80s, you must have sat there, you had to be professional, but the child Richie must have been marking out big time.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, Bret, the first time I ever hung out with him, like outside of doing the convention, First time I was very quiet, didn't really know what to say around them. But then as I worked with them 2, 3, 4, 5, probably more times than that now. Now it's all casual, easy. But the first time I was very quiet around him. I didn't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah, well, because when you think of Brett, it's wrestling royalty right there.
Right. He's top guy. Especially early '90s, definitely was top guy. So early '80s, late '80s, I started watching wrestling. By the time I was more, let's say an older kid at that point, Brett was the main guy. In WWF, as far as WWF was concerned. So that new generation was pretty much like 94, 95. I was at WrestleMania 10, Brett versus Owen, where he won, beat Yoko. I was at that one. A lot of those ones from like 92 to like 98, I was at Meadowlands, Madison Square Garden, right? There was no Barclays Center at the time. Anything that was in tri-state, New York, New Jersey, definitely would go to all the shows. My father worked at some bank in doesn't exist anymore, but we used to always get tickets for the Garden. We used to always go to the Garden. I'm still mad to this day that my father traded WrestleMania 10, not WrestleMania 10, traded some other tickets, might have been Survivor Series or something. So we couldn't go to the Knicks '94 finals. I was a big basketball fan.
Oh,
played basketball for years. So when he traded the wrestling tickets so we couldn't go to the finals, I was mad about that for a long time.
Especially, I can imagine being that was the last time the Knicks did well before now.
Oh, yeah, dude, the Knicks, don't get me. That's a whole separate conversation, my opinion on the Knicks and how much they tormented me. But I will tell you guys this, if anybody's a New York Knicks fan out there, I did speak to Starks as to why he missed all those shots in Game 6 of the '94 finals. Mm-hmm. Me and him were both at. You remember the guy Teddy Atlas? He was Mike Tyson's trainer.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those who don't know who Teddy Atlas is, he was a trainer for the Jets at some point in the last decade. He was like a health doctor for the Jets, but he's known for being the trainer for Mike Tyson. He put a gun to Mike Tyson's head because Mike Tyson supposedly tried to do something with his niece or something. What was how the story goes. So anyways, he does a fundraiser once or twice a year. I happen to go to this fundraiser, and it's open bar the first 2 or 3 hours. That's where I saw Starks. And anybody who knows me as a little kid knew that I didn't like Starks from when he missed all those shots. So I drank a lot. Starks drank a lot. I confronted Starks. Hey, John, you have a minute? Come here. He came over. We spoke. I said, why'd you miss all those shots in the finals? He goes, damn, the coach wouldn't take me out of the game. I told him to put in Hubert Davis, and he told me the whole story, and I totally have nothing but respect for the guy. Now I like Starks. Now I go back and I watch the season, and I go, the Knicks would never have made it to the finals without Starks. You would ask me that 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, I would have never said that.
It's funny because you bring that up. I'm also a diehard Knicks fan. And I remember for years, I always told people when I would tell them who I'm a fan of, and I would say, oh, yeah, I'm a fan of the Knicks. Now when I say it, especially after how we're doing this year and right now in the playoffs, I sit there, I go, yeah, I'm a fan of the Knicks. And they're like, you're a fan of the Knicks? I go, look at how good we're doing right now.
Right, now you could have been being a fan of the Knicks. I'll make you laugh. One more Knicks story, and then we'll talk more wrestling. So you remember when Carmelo had his first game?
Yes.
Okay, you don't know who was interviewed on that first game, huh? So check this one out. So I'm minding my business. I had tickets because the Knicks really were terrible until they made the trade. So I bought an 8-game package. So I'm waiting for one of my friends to get out of work to meet me in front of the Garden, and two news channels. It was Fox 5 and New York 1 that only plays in New York. And they asked me, hey, do you want to be interviewed? I said, what the hell? Yeah, what do I care? And then I have this thing on YouTube. I'll send it to you one day.
Yeah.
And they basically asked me on one of the news channels, what do I think this trade is going to do? So I said, oh, this is going to impact the Knicks for a long time. I see 1 championship, 2 championships, multiple championships going. And then they asked me, would you ever sell your ticket if someone asked you to sell it, before this game starts? I said, I would never sell this ticket. Once the Knicks start winning championships, this ticket's going to be something I'm going to remember the rest of my life. And now look what happened with Carmelo Anthony, You never know sometimes, man.
Yeah, and at the last, I think it was game 1 that he was at the game, and they put him down as Knicks legend.
Yeah, he was there. He did want to play this season. He was willing to come in like what's his name plays? What's that guy's name? The point guard. He used to be MVP of the league.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, I can't think of his name. He's on the Bulls.
Derrick Rose.
There you go, Derrick Rose. He wanted to come in and be like Derrick Rose, but listen, you don't even have to play me. Just sign me to the team. Let me teach the young kids, And if we win, at least I'm on the team. That was his mindset. Not a lot of people know that, but yeah, that I heard from a pretty good source.
But we can get, we could have a whole conversation about sports.
That's another day, everybody. For everybody who lives in different states and they don't care about the Knicks, sorry to waste 3 minutes of your life, guys. Let's talk wrestling. Let's talk wrestling.
Last thing I want to get to in the conversation we just had, then we'll get back into wrestling. Actually, it's sort of in the mix. Actually, you were at, you've been to the Garden, you've been to a lot of the arenas in the tri-state area. Is there one arena that holds near and dear to your heart?
I have to say the Garden, man. I definitely would have to say the Garden. There's so many things I've seen there. There's so many between wrestling. I've probably seen wrestling there. I don't go that much now as an adult. I don't really get to go as much as I would want to between work and other things. It's just hard to do. But definitely from a little kid to like young adult, every couple of months I was always there, especially with the wrestling. I was always there. We had box seats a lot of times. So like, yeah, definitely MSG on a landslide. Definitely that. I don't miss that walk in the Meadowlands when you have to walk through that tunnel for like a half hour just to get inside. If anybody never been to the Meadowlands, whatever it's called now, you would know better than me. But MetLife. Okay, so if you have been to MetLife Stadium, if you guys never been there, you got to walk through this tunnel, and it's like at least 15 minutes long just to get to another part of the whole thing. You still ain't even at the arena yet. Yeah. So I don't miss that. The Garden, you just walk right in the damn door. The MetLife Stadium, not like that.
Yeah, especially with the Garden. Literally, if you take the train right into Penn, you just walk up the stairs and you're there.
Right there, yeah. Without that, you're right there. They actually want to they want to move Madison Square Garden. They want to move that to somewhere else in the city. I think it'd be a stupid thing to do, but that's what they want to do.
Wow. But hey, I'm also laughing now. They had to push back some concerts recently. Because
why is that? I don't think I'm out of loop with that. Why they have to push back concerts?
Because of the fact the Knicks are still in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, they probably were in shock. Yeah, no one thought the Knicks would still be in. Yeah, okay, yeah. Oh yeah, that would definitely make sense. Yeah, that would make sense.
At one point, you also had the Rangers in as well.
I guess that's multiple. Yeah, you're right. That's multiple dates and games. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, your Rangers just got knocked out, right, with the Devils.
Yeah.
Well, you must be happy about that. You're a Jersey guy. You must be happy about the Devils.
I'm a Long Islander.
Oh, you're a Long Islander? What? I think you're Jersey. Okay, Long Islander. So you could care less who won out of the two.
No, I'm more upset about what happened to my Islanders, but that's another story for another day.
But your stadium's not bad. I was at your stadium for AEW. Speaking of wrestling.
Yeah.
Get back onto the wrestling topic. I was at your stadium for one of the AEW shows. Pretty nice stadium. Nice stadium. I give credit where it's due. It's pretty nice. You got that little horse track place right next to it. I don't know the name of it, but pretty nice area. Pretty nice place.
Yeah, that's one place. Shockingly enough, I actually have not been to the UBS Arena yet.
Definitely go. I recommend it. Definitely go. Yeah, it's good. It's a good place.
I'm hoping next time AEW is there, hopefully I can get a chance to go to. But I want to get back into the wrestling stuff, especially with what we have coming up on May 20th. But before we get to that, as far as the vendoring goes, especially now that you've been doing it for a while, do you look for certain things when it comes to the superstars?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I might skip around here, so I might skip around here. I'm just gonna. One thing about me is, for anybody who doesn't know me at all, if you know me already, then you already know this. But if you don't know me, it's the first time you ever met me. My name's Richie Sorrentino, the guy your mother warned you about. Your favorite vendor. But anyways, one thing you know about me is I just tell it how it is. Richie, real talk. So that can either get me in a lot of trouble or that could be a good thing. So depending upon the topic and the situation, but I'm just gonna tell you what I look for. So number one, the price has to make sense. That's number one. The price has to make sense. You can like somebody as an entertainer, performer. You can like them, but if the money doesn't make sense and you're going to take a loss, there's no point to do it. There's a lot of people that I personally would love to work with, and I don't because it's a money thing. If someone's really worth $3,000, they can't charge you $15,000. See, like when COVID hit in 2020, I'm going to educate everybody right now in this whole room. When 2020 hit, okay, COVID hit, all these wrestlers that were like $1,000 to $4,000, all of a sudden started getting agents. And then they started listening to AEW. There's another, if they were for AEW, so listen to AEW. So now a $2,000 person wants $8,000. How can anybody make money? That means I got to charge you guys more money Don't mind my hand gestures. I'll stop with hand gestures.
It's fine. I do the same
My
thing. As well.
apologies, everybody. It's an Italian thing. Sorrentino, it's an Italian thing. But what you call it? So once the pandemic hit, they all raised their prices. So how can you be a $2,000 person in 2020? We're in a pandemic. We're in whatever you want to call it, recession here. People ain't making what they used to make. Money is not what it used to be. It's hard. A lot of people are losing jobs. This, that, the other. They're adapting. And how can you charge 3 times more than you were, and then expect a person like me to pay you? This is not that I can't pay you. I can pay you, but then I got to charge everybody else more money. So would you want to pay $100 for a $30 an autograph? You wouldn't want to do it.
Nope.
And neither would anybody else. So there's certain people that I don't book. There's nothing personal against them, but that's the first thing I look for. The second thing I look for, besides the price, is my conversation with them. Like how me and you are talking right now, I can see me and you going out for a beer, having a good time. There are certain talents that when I talk to them on the phone, even if the price and everything works, just by their demands or the things that they say, to me, it can be a turnoff sometimes. It can be a turnoff. A lot of the times, honestly, with me, it's referrals. So like I'll work with one talent, especially with the females. I'll work with one talent, they'll tell another female talent, which is good. Because once you have a good working relationship, and this goes for a lot of vendors, I'll speak for a lot of vendors without saying their names. Most of their connections come from past talents. So once you have that good reputation, and I'm one to say it, and I'll say it on here, I'm not one to hold back. Reputation matters. So if you have a good reputation in anything in life, you have a good reputation, whether it's you with your podcast, me with the booking guys, with whoever's watching, whatever they do for a living. If you have a good reputation in what you do, people are going to want to work with you. If you have a bad reputation, I've seen vendors where they don't want to work with them. Let me rephrase that. I've seen talent where I know the talent, I know the vendor, and that talent refuses to work with said vendor. It happens. If you have a bad reputation,
Yeah, I'm just saying yes because there's a story there, but I don't want to talk about it on the air because I'll tell you about it off air.
Yeah, sure. Listen, in this wrestling game, guys, for everybody who is watching, in this wrestling community, there's a lot of drama. And I'll be the first to admit it. There's times I've been involved in the drama, not by choice, but if someone spreads a lie or spreads a rumor, I'm always going to address it. That's me. Some people say, oh, it's better to turn the other cheek, this, that, the other. Me personally, if something's getting said, I put a lot of time, I put a lot of money into certain things. I'm just always going to tell it how it is. Unless it's something that's so ridiculous that there's no point for me to address it. But if it's something where people are actually believing it, I'm the type, I'll go on, I'll do a public live. If anybody knows me publicly or socially, if anybody's met me or they see me at an event or they're Facebook friends of mine, you guys know. You know what I mean? If you're not my Facebook friend, you can add me, Richie Sorrentino. That's my Facebook. Anybody's more than welcome to add me. Just let me know you're a wrestling fan and I'll add you. If you look like a person who lives in who lives in like a different country and I have no clue because you have no profile pic, I ain't adding you. So just let me know where I know you from. And you say, Around the Ropes podcast. Like if you're friends with them, you're friends with me. We're good, But if you live in France, let's say, and you have no profile pic, I ain't adding you.
Yeah. Let's get into what's happening May 20th because again, folks, this is a big event happening. I just want to pull up the poster one more time. Yep, Richie has it over there.
But he's got a better version of the poster, so we'll use his version.
Yep, it's happening May 20th over at the Middletown Sports Complex. Now, obviously, hold on, let me pull up one more time. Obviously, you can see Danhausen's gonna be there. John Silver, Alex Reynolds, Molina, JC Storm. I see in the corner. Ron Simmons. Gangrel, Barry Horowitz, friend of the show as well. But before we get into the guys who you're going to have there, I want to get into how did this whole show come to fruition?
Okay, well that's a funny story to ask. All right, well it's not funny, but it's all right. So before COVID, so let's say 2019.
Yeah.
So I work in the credit field. I fix credit. That's what I do for a living. Mm-hmm. So I worked in Brooklyn pretty much. Well, I worked in Manhattan too, but worked in Brooklyn a lot of my life. I live in Staten Island. So, but basically always worked in Brooklyn for the most part. So I fixed credit in this place in Brooklyn. And around 2019, I was thinking about doing a convention in Brooklyn. and it was a place in Brooklyn, Greenpoint, Brooklyn. I spoke to the place, myself and 2 other people at the time. We spoke to the place. We were working out things, this, that, the other. The prices didn't make sense. If you can't park and there's, different things like parking, which I'll get into later about this show. Like if you can't park at places, and again, you've been to big event, you've been to other conventions, you notice if you can't park, it's kind of hard to go to the event. So this particular place in Greenpoint, there was no place to park. So that was the main reason why we didn't do it. There was money, there was other things, but the main thing was definitely the park. So 2019, the idea of throwing my own convention was in place. Pandemic happened, it kind of went away because nobody was making money. There wasn't really shows going on. Whatever wrestling stuff I was doing was either online, selling autographs. You guys should check out GTG Productions on that. That's the group page. But we were doing virtuals, we were doing auctions, we were doing different things. We still do things here and there, but not as much as we used to. But if you like to buy autographs and you live in like different states, Kentucky, Ohio, and they don't have like wrestling conventions, check out GTG Space Productions, GTG Productions. Check them out. Myself, Jerome, Charlie Brown, one of us 3 are always posting something. Barry Harwood's actually an admin there, your buddy Barry. Barry's an admin on GTG. But so basically how this show came about was, I'd say around before Christmas, somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I was at the Middletown Sports Complex, and I was doing something there with music. They booked a music act from me. And I do music acts too, guys. I don't just do wrestling. I sell music acts. So I worked with them for years. But I booked a music act, and we were talking, and the guy who owns the place, his brother's a big wrestling fan. And he goes, I always want to like do something with wrestling guys. If we could get this place, this, that, the other, what do you think? And I'm like, listen, I actually have a whole thing written down back in 2019 of how I would do things. So we started talking about it more and more. And then I got more interested in wanting to do it. So without that, it was over the summer, actually. It was like the end of the summer. It was before, but the original date was going to be around early March, late February. That was the original date for this Wrestle Show in New Jersey. But due to different things in AEW, AEW's got this bad habit of not letting their talent know when they're going to be available. So that was the first problem I had. And then certain other conventions were throwing things on the same dates, so I had to readjust everything. But definitely, it happened, randomly. But without that thing in 2019 that I spoke about earlier, and then the conversation that I just told you about, without those 2 things, I don't know if there would have been a Wrestle Show. It just kind of happened that way.
So it's sort of a blessing in disguise, then, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, I'll let you know on May 21st. Hopefully, everybody comes out. But I'll get into all the information on that in a little bit. But everybody, if you're around, you definitely should come out that day. If you live in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Long Island.
But now you're going to have this. A lot of the big name vendors are going to be there, and it's a plethora of them. I know at Big Event, and I don't want to call out Big Event here because they've been called out a lot since the last show. I know parking was the big issue at the last Big Event.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem solver for this event. So I was at Big Event, the last one. I was there. I had Jason Knight and Angel Orsini from ECW. So I did see the whole thing happen. I actually did go outside and try to conduct that line with my megaphone. So they did ask me to go out there and try to like calm down the fans, which again is not a knock on them. There was a lot of problems, but that mainly goes back to the parking, which you're talking about. So I'll stick with that parking part. So basically, I do with the parking was one of the main problems was the parking, which they are now moving their venue, I believe, to Long Island. I believe they're doing something in Long Island, which is good for them. That's good. That I don't know too much about that, but like I said, I started out with Tom. He helped me out during when he had the ice cream store. That's pretty much where I got the wrestling start. So I wish Big Event the best with whatever they end up doing. But yeah, Long Island, they should do good out there. I think I've seen the hotel was on my news feeds. It looked like a pretty big place. But yeah, parking in Queens is tough. Parking in Queens has always been tough. And the hotel it couldn't supply the amount of people that they were bringing in, which, listen, it's not a bad problem to have, but if you're a fan trying to get in, it's a problem. So one of the first things I said about this show is the parking. what do you know? I don't want to run into that problem. So there's no So like when you go to some of these places, whether it's Madison Square Garden, big event, some of these other hotels, whatever the place is. I'm just spitballing random places. Wherever you go, WrestleCon, if you go there every year for WrestleMania, the parking you got to pay an extra fee besides getting in. So with us, it's free parking. Middletown Sports Complex has their own parking, so it's free parking. There's no hidden like $30 fee to park somewhere. So there's free parking, big parking lot. There's street parking, plenty of it. Then you got 2 parking lots to the right. One to the right and one to the left. Huge parking lots. And again, it's free parking. You can park there. There's no 20 minutes, and then they tow you. It's not like that. So that was one of the first things I looked into was the parking. So parking is free, everybody. So if you want to come to Wrestle Show, New Jersey, just know parking is free. Free is king.
That's a good thing, especially, and I agree with you. You go to wrestling, especially you go to any, not even just wrestling. You go to any, like you go to Yankee Stadium or Citi Field where the Mets are. And
parking
I remember years ago I went to Yankee Stadium for a game, and I drove in because I was like, I'm not gonna take the train, and even though the train would have been cheaper, just for parking alone, I think ran me, $40.
Right, and then the later you get there, the closer to the game, the more they're going to charge you, and then the closer you are to the stadium, the more they're going to charge you too. So if you go to like Yankee Stadium, for example, or Shea Stadium, whatever they call Citi Field, Citi Field, right? The closer you are to the stadium, especially Citi Field has their own parking lot, their own thing. So right, so they have one set fee, but like Yankee Stadium, because I'm a Yankee fan, so I know more about Yankee. I've been to both, but Yankee Stadium, I tell you for a fact. The closer you are to the stadium, the more money you're paying. So if it's $70 if you're across the street from the stadium, Madison Square Garden, the same thing, kind of. They have their own little parking lots to the sides, right and left. And if you got parked 10 blocks away, it's a little bit cheaper. If you go to like that Hammerstein Ballroom, it's cheaper there. But but at that point you're already there. You just want to go. You just want to get your spot, and that's an extra. I use Madison Square Garden as an example. That's another $70 fee you don't even think of. Madison Square Garden charges you $70 to park. Might be more now. They charged me $70 last time I was there.
I'll give you another example. I remember years ago I went to MetLife Stadium for a Giants game. And I remember talking to one of the parking attendants, and they actually told me that they upped the price for a Giants game for parking than a Jet game. So if you go there and it's the Giants and they're the home team, I think you're paying $50 to park. And if it's the Jets, I think you're paying $25.
Right, see, that's a big gap, right? And again, you're watching football, you're both the NFL, you know what I mean? Now again, I understand that, what's called whatever it's called, but most people would say Giant Stadium overall that it is. But Just because they have more pull, even though it's equal, it's an equal thing. But even though it's equal, so they say. But most people are going to say Giant Stadium. That's what they're going to say. And here's the Jets playing at Giant Stadium. Listen, there's other people. Listen, I know a lot of Jet fans. I don't have a dog in the fight. You're not going to like me. I'm a Cowboys fan. So I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not a Jets fan. I'm not a Giant fan. Cowboys fan. But again, that's just how, just when I was a little young, Cowboys were the team. You know what I mean? So I stuck with them, and the Cowboys have sucked ever since. So don't say I'm a front runner, because the Cowboys have sucked ever since they won their last Super Bowl. I think maybe they won 1 or 2 playoff games since 95, 96, won 1 or 2 playoff games. And the torment that them and the Knicks have caused me over the years, we could exchange stories for weeks, guys. There would be enough podcasts to have if I was talking about the Cowboys and Knicks. The bad dreams and the horror stories, and especially the football games where the catch wasn't a catch, or the catch was a catch and they said it wasn't. The referees are blind in half of these sports. But at least in the wrestling, WWE, AEW, Impact, whatever it is anybody watches, at least the referee knows what he has to do in advance. Even if he's screwing somebody like Earl Hebner in the screw job, at least he knows what he's doing in advance.
Exactly.
The NFL refs, they have no clue what the hell they're doing. NBA too. The umpires in baseball, I don't think they know what the hell they're doing, especially with the new rules there. But let's go back to wrestling. It's wrestling. We want to talk about wrestling. Wrestling Around the Ropes podcast, everybody. Every week, tune in and watch these guys. Every week, wait, Tuesdays, right? Every Tuesday, go in, check these guys out, support the podcast, tell your friends about the podcast. Just do it. Just do it, okay? Not because I'm telling you to do it, but just do it. All right. I'm done with the rant. That's my rant for the night.
You're good. But Now, obviously, like I said, there's going to be a lot of talent at this show.
50 plus people, 50 plus. I might even be a 60, but definitely at least 50 talents. I know the flyer you showed. Here's an update. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Ultimo Dragon's on it. Sonny Ono's on it. There's a few people updated since the one you have. But yeah, we definitely added guys. You know, there's some talent I wanted to get. The dates didn't work. Certain things didn't work out. Hopefully, if there's a Wrestle Show 2, hopefully, again, I'm not going to say there is or isn't. So you have to see how this one goes. But if there is one, there's definitely a handful of talent I know off the top that I will call up the next week and book them as soon as Wrestle Show 1 is over. Because just the dates, some people just the dates didn't work out, unfortunately.
Let me ask you this. If, let's say, this becomes a yearly thing, would you stick just to Jersey?
It's funny you said that. It's funny you said that. And I've done a few podcasts in the past month or two. You know, I've done a few over the years, but in the past month I've been talking about this particular topic. Wrestle Show New Jersey. This is the first podcast that's going to know this information. So this podcast here, and you guys can take this part and give it to whoever. I really don't care. But this is the first podcast that's publicly going to know this directly from me. Only 15 people maybe know this, and now your whole podcast is going to know this. So if Wrestle Show New Jersey goes good, there's been talks about Wrestle Show Brooklyn. There's been talks about Wrestle Show PA. There's been talks about it. But I can't commit to that until we do this one. But there has been talks about Wrestle Show Brooklyn and Wrestle Show PA. So, but, we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll come off for another podcast for that if that was to happen. But never say never in the wrestling. But I'll give up that information. I got nothing to hide. I'm a very straightforward person. I'll give up that information because I don't have a problem doing it because I know who I spoke to that if anybody tried to steal my connect. See, a lot of people are worried in this wrestling business of people stealing their connections, stealing their spots. If you already have your connections and your spots and you have a loyalty with people that goes beyond wrestling or beyond whatever it is you're doing, then it's just a trust factor. I didn't say where the convention's going to be. I didn't say what block it's on. I didn't say who the guy's name is I'm going through. I didn't give any of that information. No. I just said what the plan is. But some people, they're just afraid to do that. They wouldn't give you that information. Me, I'm giving it to you. You hear it straight directly from Richie Sorrentino's mouth. Yes, if Wrestle Show New Jersey is a good thing, I have no problem having the conversation about Wrestle Show Brooklyn, having the conversation about Wrestle Show PA. No problem with that. Those two things have been discussed.
Hey, like I said, folks, you definitely want to go to the show. It's going to be an electric show because also not only after that, there's a lot of independent shows in Jersey right around that area right after.
Yeah, you got Titan. They're about 15 minutes away, guys. Titan, they about 15 minutes away. I'm sure around the ropes they have the information on that. They're about 15 minutes from the convention, so you guys can go to the convention. It ends at 3-4 o'clock. And you can go right there and then go straight to Titan.
Or if you want to do a little bit.
Or I think they had a women's show earlier that day. So if you want to leave early at 1 o'clock, you go to women's show. That's cool. Like there's some people that are wrestling and they're doing my show earlier in the day. So that's cool. If you like meet and greets, you come out to one, then you go out wrestling at night. That's a good thing.
But absolutely, Richie, you said it perfectly. Yes, you got Titan that night, but you also have other shows. You have Magic as also that night.
Okay, cool.
It's a little bit farther. It's a little bit of a commute, but folks, the biggest thing, and we stress this every week on the show, is go support independent wrestling. Because you never know if you're going to a match or you're going to a show, you might see that person appear on WWE TV, on AEW TV, on Impact, on Ring of Honor.
Listen, guys, it happens. It happens. There's a lot of guys I met on the indies, and either I didn't know at the time that they were somebody big, or they turned out years later to be something. I'm like, wait a second. I'll give you an example. We'll take Little Guido from ECW. Okay, yeah. I knew this guy when he was Damian Stone. I have pictures with him. Damian Stone, 94, 93 time frame. And the guy was on ECW years later. I'm like, damn. No, he had to be before 93 because ECW was out. He might not have been ECW from the beginning. Maybe that was it. But years later, when he was on ECW, WWE, and all that, I had met him there first. A lot of guys. Who's in WWE now? Gargano, I met him at, what's that federation that went out of business? WWE owns it now. Evolve. Yeah, I met Gargano. I met him there. Gargano. He spoke to there was a bunch of fans, a lot of fans. Spoke with us, hung out with us. We had beers with the guy. Cool guy. Johnny Gargano, great guy. But I definitely didn't think he'd go to WWE. Never thought that.
But Richie, that's my whole thing though, is we actually had, you brought up Titan before. We had Billy Fetsky on the show. God, it was the Tuesday after WrestleMania. And he made the comment, and it's stuck with me ever since. You look at WWE, you look at AEW, and I remember the topic we were talking about. We were talking about how they're doing the Mount Olympus event in November, and they're going to have a 200-person Rumble match.
Wow. Where they film all these people? Oh, it's 200. I guess they get eliminated, I guess. See, I like the World War III thing, but I'll let you talk about your thing first.
No, but the whole thing with it, though, he made the point that he was trying to get the Guinness Book of World Record to be there because he wants to try to get it to, a Guinness record. And they turned around and said, oh, that's not professional wrestling. And he made the comment. He said on our show, and folks, if you want to go back and watch it, you definitely can. He turned around and said, you look at WWE, you look at AEW, how do you think half those guys got there? It wasn't because of their looks.
Yeah, right. They had to watch them somewhere, of course. Yeah, definitely. Like, listen, even guys, even like this, if you're a baseball fan, or even basketball now, they have the minor league system. Even hockey has it now. Like where you are, you have the minor league system in Long Island. You have the whatever farm teams. Then you even got the Ducks. You got the Ducks that are not affiliated with MLB. But again, if the Ducks are playing really good, you don't think a Mets scout or Yankee scout is going to go over and watch what they're doing? Well, of course they are.
Absolutely.
Well, why wouldn't they? If you're hearing, oh, this guy's killing it in, let's just say, whatever federation, Impact Wrestling. There's a lot of people I know, they don't watch Impact. But if you tell me put on Impact, this guy's killing it right now, I want to see what it's about. So I'll put on Impact for that. I used to watch Impact in the beginning. I was a big Impact fan when it first came out. But as years went on, I guess my love for Impact kind of went away. But I did like going there when they threw events in Queens. I don't know if they still do. It was always good in person.
Richie, before we go further, we actually have a couple of comments coming in quickly.
Sure.
As actually somebody who you know very well, the one, the only Mr. David Zubin, who chimed in.
What's up, Zubin? How you doing, man? What's up?
He also chimed in and said he can't wait for Wrestle Show. Because, yes, I think if I remember correctly, Zubin is bringing in some talent.
Yeah, he has Jasmine Allure. Definitely has top tier Jasmine Allure, who's a top 25 prospect. So speaking of girls that could be a next big star, Jasmine Allure is one of them. She fought on AEW Dark a few times, which is not on the Wednesday show. I think they're on the internet. If you watch the internet stuff for AEW, I'm not a diehard fan like that to watch those ones, but she's fought a lot of matches on AEW Dark. She's fought a lot. She's even fought on WWE Main Event, which is another one I think is internet only. I think, or you need the network. I think she fought Nia Jax. No, not Nia Jax. Tamina, she fought.
Yeah.
So he has her for that. He's doing a bunch of things that weekend. But I know he's coming to Wrestle Show with Jasmine Allure. I believe he has let me think for a second. He has Ernest the Cat Miller, who's cool too because Sonny Ono's there. So that'd be a cool photo op. Everyone's cool do photo op doesn't happen every day. I'll pitch it right now. I'm not even saying it because David's listening. It's because it's the truth. When would you ever see Sonny Ono and Ernest Miller take photos together? It doesn't happen. So Ernest Miller's there with Ultimo Dragon. So they're sitting near each other. I know this for a fact because I set up the tables. They're sitting near each other. So you could definitely get that dual photo op that you probably would normally never get. So that's pretty cool. And then the third guy he has, and David, if I'm wrong, tell me, I believe is Simon Gotch is the third guy he has.
Yeah, I think so.
That's cool. That's a cool ad. It's somebody different, somebody different. That's cool.
Because I think if I remember correctly, all three of the guys he's bringing in, and including Jasmine Allure, I think are all going to be down at, he did say you are correct on Simon Gotch.
All right. So I'm correct about something. I got something right. Good for me. I'll give myself a Barry Horowitz pat on the back. Barry, whenever you watch this, Barry, I'm patting myself on the back for you, Barry.
And Barry, by the way, if you are watching this, we definitely want to have you back on the show. It was always a blast when we had Barry on.
And if he's not watching the show, I will personally let him know. Because I talked to me and Barry. Barry's one of my closest friends in this wrestling business. Mr. Horowitz, one of my closest friends in the wrestling business. A lot of the guys I was cool with, they passed away, unfortunately. Scott Hall, Jim Neidhart, Mean Gene. So it's an unfortunate thing in wrestling. It's unfortunate. You never know when the last time you're going to see somebody is. It's an unfortunate thing when you get to know these guys. Even as a fan, man. Even as a fan. Like, I was a big Rick Rude fan. When he passed away, God honest truth, if I had my yearbook out, I'd show it to you. My 5th grade yearbook, it said favorite person. Most people put like their family or whatever they put. My favorite person was Rick Rude. My 1995, I think it was 95. Graduated 5th grade. It was like favorite person. No hesitation, Rick Rude. Still have the yearbook to this day. It's somewhere. I gotta pull it out one day. Maybe I'll take a Facebook pic. I'll send it to you. I'll post it for everybody to see it. But you can all get a good laugh because that's who my favorite person was. Everybody else was like, oh, my dad is my hero, or oh, my grandfather, or oh, my aunt, whoever they put. And my answer was Rick Rude. It doesn't get any more wrestling than that, guys. Rick Rude, favorite person.
But let me ask you this: as far as with the Wrestle Show happening, is there one name on that who's the list of talent that you have that you sit there, you're like, this guy's actually going to be here, or this gal's actually going to be here?
On that show? All right, so let's see. On that show. Okay, so remember, like I said earlier, a lot of people, the dates just didn't work out, certain things. There's a lot of disappointments in this. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of guests I did try and bring. Just didn't work out. But on this show, I never thought I'd be able to get Danhausen. He's a current AEW guy. I didn't think I'd be able to get him. I was able to get him. Happy I'm able to get him. So he's definitely one of the guys that I would say that I would not think would have been on this show. If you would ask me when we first started doing this show, there would have been about 10 other AEW names before him. It just didn't work out that way. But Danhausen's a great guest. Listen, he's not around all the time. He's a great guest. I don't think he's ever done anything in Jersey in terms of a meet and greet. I don't think he has. He might have. I don't know. As far as I know, he hasn't. I'm not saying he never did because, again, the guy probably fought in Indies 2016, 17. So he could have fought in Jersey at some point. Maybe he did a Wrestle Pro or something, is out in Jersey. He could have did that. I personally don't know. But in terms of conventions since the pandemic, he definitely has not done New Jersey. So I think it's a cool thing. People who like Danhausen, like AEW, they come out, they can see him. And then if you like, Attitude Era or early 90s, you can come see a guy like Ron Simmons. Cool guy, former WCW World Heavyweight Champ, did a lot of WWF, has the famous damn gimmick. Everybody likes Ron Simmons. And then if you're even a fan even older of that, and you're like a New York guy, Jersey guy, Long Island guy, even have guys like Johnny Rodz coming to the show. So we're hitting every decade of guys. You got guys from 1980s, late 1970s and Johnny Rodz, 1990s guys, early 2000s, and then you got the current AEW people. So it's good, something for everybody. It's a family-friendly environment. There's food and beverages there, which is cool. Some places they don't have that. So it's it's a Middletown sports complex. They serve like you go to a baseball game, you get pretzels, you get hot dogs, you get whatever you want to get. There's a nice steakhouse down the street if anybody wants to get a nice steak after the show. It's definitely a good family-friendly environment, pocket-friendly in terms of pricing. Nobody's looking to hurt you on the pricing. We want everybody to have a good time and come back. That's the whole point of this. The whole point of a convention should be, and I can't speak for anyone else's convention. This is my first time throwing a convention, but anybody throwing a convention, God strike me down if I'm lying, that this is my opinion. If you're throwing a convention, your goal should be for everybody there to enjoy themselves and to want to come back. Not for you to have to force them to come back. Not to, and that goes for, you want the vendors to be happy. You want the fans to be happy. You want the staff of that venue to be happy. You want the venue itself to be happy. You want that town. Listen, if anybody's ever been to New Jersey, those townships are a real pain in the ass to deal with. So you want that township. So I had to deal with they have each town has their own little mayor in Jersey. If anybody's ever been to New Jersey, I don't care where you live in the United States, you have not seen anything like Jersey. Every town has their own little mayor. Like they'll tell you this guy's the governor, this guy's the mayor. Yeah, okay, that's what they say. And then you go to each town, it's like, no, you got to deal with this guy. It's like, wait, why am I dealing with this guy? Who the hell is he? Well, he's the mayor of Middletown. I'm like, okay, what does that mean to me? How is this my problem? But in Jersey, they just run things. Anybody who owns a wrestling federation or does wrestling in Jersey, they know what I'm talking about. These townships, it's not like New York City. It's not like Long Island. It's not like Philadelphia. It's not like those places. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I've had the luxury of being in Jersey plenty of times. And I'll be back in Jersey on Saturday for 80s WrestleCon.
Great show by Tommy, 80s Wrestle Show. Yeah, Tommy F. That's going to be a good show, guys. If everyone's around for that, hit up that show. Bret Hart's going to be there. Bret Hart's there. I know Eric Sims has guys. Scott Wilder has guys. Off the top of my head, who's Demolition's there? Demolition, they worked with me in the past. They're good guys. Axe and Smash, good guys. Brett, obviously, great guy.
And
I think. I'm sorry to cut you off. I think Doink is sick. I think recently just got sick. I think.
Yeah, I think so. And guys, I said this on our show on Tuesday, and I'll say this again in case people missed it. The Round Levels podcast will have a table there as well, and we will be selling our coffee.
So, guys, go over there. Even if you don't buy it, go over there, say what's up, say you watch the podcast, and let them know, listen, this is what we like about the podcast. This is what we don't like. This is what we want to see. This is what we don't want to see. And listen, guys, listen, man, this is a great podcast. They come on here. They do their thing every Tuesday. They come on here. They're taking a chance to talk to guys like me, which is cool. I appreciate it. Listen, I appreciate it. Anybody who wants to talk to me, whether it's 51 minutes or 10 minutes, I appreciate it. Because without podcasts, especially in today's times, the word couldn't spread. So, you guys can watch this YouTube video now or wherever you're streaming from, and then you can share it afterwards. So it's a cool feature. It's cool because a person might not be watching now, but maybe tomorrow afternoon during work, they could watch. So it's a cool thing. You can watch whenever. So you don't have to watch me. Listen, if you don't like this episode, go watch the episode on Tuesdays. That's fine. If you don't like what, listen to me. You might hate my voice, might hate my little face, might hate my gray shirt. Go watch a different episode. But you got plenty of episodes to watch, so it's cool. You get choices. So Round the Ropes podcast, much success to them, much props to them. I thank them for giving me the time to talk about Wrestle Show New Jersey. And definitely everybody should just come out to it. I'm telling you guys, give it a chance. Give it a chance. If you don't like it, you never have to come back again. But I'm telling you, you're going to like it. www.wrestleShowNJ.com. If you have Instagram, it's Wrestle Show NJ. We're on Facebook. It's Wrestle Show Space NJ. So there's definitely different outlets to reach us. You can contact myself as another partner, Vinny. You can contact any of us anytime. We're more than happy to answer your questions. It's $15 to get in. Free parking, like I said. If there's any questions that I'm not thinking of, feel free to ask me. And if anybody's in the chat besides Zubin, ask any questions you want. Obviously, the host, the host of the show, I'm shutting up because I talk too much. That's my uncle. Let me tell you guys one last story. My uncle used to call me when I was 5, 6 years old, walkie-talkie. This is why I don't shut the hell up. My uncle was right. God rest his soul, but he was right, that guy. Walkie-talkie, he used to always go. But you're the host. Talk away.
I'm going to throw the poster that we have up one more time, guys. It happens May 20th. All the information is right there. You definitely want to go check it out. I mean, guys, the fact that you're going to have a mixture of guys from Johnny Rods to Ron Simmons to Dan Housen to even people who are on the independent scene right now who are going to be there. So
it's a nice mixture. It's definitely a nice mixture.
It's a huge mixture.
Something for everybody.
But Richie, thank you so much for hopping on tonight. I appreciate it a lot.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate everybody who's coming out to the show. I appreciate everybody. Listen, guys, listen. What brings us all together, honestly, what brings us all together is we all like wrestling, even if we don't like it as much as we used to like it. As I know some people, they got older, they don't watch it as much anymore. Myself included in that. I miss a lot of stuff sometimes. But when we were all younger, we all liked wrestling. We all liked it. And for the love of wrestling, we go out to these shows. We go out to them. We support them. And for the newer fans, they like the current wrestling. They come out. They enjoy. And again, you share stories with other fans and stuff. I can't speak for other vendors. I can't speak for other people who throw wrestling conventions. But one thing about me is I enjoy talking to the fans at wrestling conventions because I hear new stories I never heard before. I love talking to the wrestlers, hearing stories. Like, to me, that's some of the things I enjoy. But I understand that they're busy doing what they have to do as well. So, you can't really talk to them as much as you might want to. And that's not the vendor's fault. It's not the promoter's fault. I know sometimes people get offended that, they couldn't talk to a guy for a certain amount of time. But you got to remember, they're only going to stay there for a certain amount of hours, and everybody's going to get their autograph and their picture. So it's not really the promoter or vendor's fault. Some vendors, they rush you ridiculously. I don't agree with that. But sometimes they have to do that because certain talents, once it hits that time and it's like, oh, man, I have to go, they run out the door. So you guys just got to work, you just got to understand sometimes that it's not personal towards you guys. As the fans coming, it's appreciated. Some vendors can be, they can be pricks. There are some. Not all of us are. Not all vendors. You know, I don't like to consider myself a promoter. I don't like to consider myself that. A vendor is fine. You know, again, like we have GTG Productions. So like GTG, they sponsor Wrestle Show. So you know, GTG is what I'm part of, and Wrestle Show is a company now that, you know, we're above them. So GTG brings you Wrestle Show. So, you know, it's a cool thing. You know, so hopefully everybody who's either knows me from GTG or you just met me right now from Around the Ropes podcast, and you just met me now for the first time. Maybe you liked what I have to say. Like, damn, this is a funny guy. Let me come out and see what he has to offer. You know, or if you watch them every week on Tuesdays and you already know what these guys are about, if they took the time and they're willing to talk to me, then obviously they see something in me that they want the audience to come, and you're their audience.
Okay. And guys, like I said, it happens May 20th, Middletown, New Jersey. You could basically, if you go to any of the social media sites, definitely just look up Wrestle Show NJ, and you'll find all the information. Because guys, this is a show you're not going to want to miss. I know there's a lot of wrestling stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks between conventions and wrestling shows. But guys, this is why we're all wrestling fans. It's for stuff like this. And also, just want to make another mention: if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing. It does wonders for us. It helps get our name out there more. And all we're just doing is we're just trying to bring the positivity back into wrestling. That's all we're trying to do. But Richie, thank you so much for hopping on. It was a blast. We're definitely going to have you on again. The door is always open for you to come back on whenever you would like.
Sounds good to me. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Guys, for the man, the myth, the legend himself, right there, Richie Sorrentino, I'm John. This has been Around the Ropes live interview, not recorded, live, but you can watch it later on. We'll catch you guys next time.
See you guys soon.